For more debates, updates, and bonus clips, sign up at thebigconversation.show.
You're an atheist,
Yeah.
Dan, but if all our past events are physically determined at some level, isn't your decision to be an atheist simply an accumulation of those past events? And you haven't, in a sense, decided to be an atheist. You are simply the product of a set of determined events. But what kind of an
accumulation is it? It is one that's been accomplished by machinery that has been designed by evolution over billions of years to do a very good job of telling truth from falsehood and of not drawing unlicensed conclusions. Think of an eagle for a moment. The eagle's eye, very high fidelity, very high accuracy. It is a brilliant truth discoverer about the things that matter to eagles, and then it puts them to great use. We have wonderful senses too, and we can, but not only do we rely on them, we have learned how to improve on them in hundreds of ways. We have eyeglasses and telescopes and microscopes and all sorts of scientific devices and methods, truth-seeking methods. Now, it's undeniable that we use those, not perfectly, but my decision to be an atheist is a product of that whole development of truth-seeking processes. And that's why it is
Keith,
something...
Keith is also the benefactor of all of those same processes down through the millennia, and he's chosen to be a Christian.
Yeah.
So in some sense, isn't ultimately, if everything is ultimately determined, that you were going to be here and have this conversation, if you were around the clock perfectly, it would all happen in exactly the same way. Isn't your decision to be an atheist and Keith's decision to be a Christian ultimately simply a factor of that? There's no ultimate sense in which we've freely chosen anything in our life. And therefore, can we even speak of the reasons and the truth-seeking and so on that we value?
Maybe there's an ultimate sense of freedom in which neither Keith nor I nor you are free, but that's not one that cuts any ice when it comes to the question of whether we have reasons.
What do you think about this, Keith?
I think reasoning is difficult. Indeed, I think it's impossible to account for in purely physical terms, because to try and think about something, decide whether or not it's true, if you have a hard problem of some sort, that is not like handing it over to your brain to solve. It's like doing some really hard thinking. And that's the problem. That seems to be a directed process. That there is a you, which is, and I don't think it's just the brain, not the physical brain. You use a brain. So this is what it comes down to. I think the person, the self, the soul, uses the brain, and if the brain's not operating properly, it will probably come up with the wrong answer. But if the brain is operating properly, it still has freedom. In fact, that's what the brain exists for. So I think the soul is very dependent on the brain, and I don't deny that at all.